Thank you. Thank you. Don't worry about clapping. I'm not a very formal person. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Anna. All right, awesome. Well, thank you for inviting me to have a chat. Seriously, I'm very informal, very casual, very relaxed sort of educator. So I guess I want this to be more of an interactive sort of workshop for you guys. All right, so I'll just show you a couple of my tips and tricks that I've found along the way. And as you're waiting, just log on to your mobile device, and because there's going to be a quiz, and I also have a prize box. Okay, yay, right? And it's got prize box, and it's got a proviso that stuff in here may or may not be awesome. Okay, so be warned. Okay, so this is a very useful tool to get students engaged, and there's a bit of a quiz and something, and they can have a dip in the prize box. Okay, I do anything that I have to do in order to get them to learn, I use. All right, let's get started very quickly. So I'm just going to go through a few things. Go over my teaching style, so the logic of what I do. 10 teaching tools, bang, 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 to get you going. And then you can ask me questions or give me feedback. Any feedback is good feedback in my book, okay? My personal teaching style, or andragogy, right, which is the art and science of teaching adult learners, okay? So I have to really, when I started teaching, I really had to think about what teaching methods I was going to use, and then I made sure that I have a logical context for why I use those methods. Okay, I'm a neuroscientist, I'm a scientist, I have to think things through. Sometimes I overthink things, but I thought it all through. Being a neuroscientist, I do believe, or my personal teaching philosophy is that you really need to understand how the brain works in order to be an effective teacher, okay? In one way, I'm lucky because I have that neuroscience background, but even if you don't have a neuroscience background, there are still resources out there that you can use to guide your teaching practice that are not so heavy or neuroscience based, okay? I know that teaching or learning is about building connections between neurons, ultimately when you boil it down, okay? That's what you're doing when you're learning. So here is a cell, a neuron, here is another neuron, and of course it's this time lapse that's going quicker than normal. And so what you want to do is you want to build connections. The more you learn, or when you learn something, two connections, two neurons, their connection between them gets stronger, okay? So neurons that fire together, wire together. So that's what you're doing when you're teaching someone. That's what you're doing when you're actually doing repetition. You're getting connections, neural networks developing. And my students always get cranky at me because I always go, I can't grow your dendrites for you, you have to grow them yourself. Okay? And you can only grow your brain cells if you do something active. You can't grow brain cells if you just sit there and look and watch. You have to do something, okay? Also, you also need to, for my personal belief, as well as to be a teacher, you really need to understand your cohort. 100%. You need to know who you're teaching. The cohort that I teach here in Port Macquarie at a regional university is completely different to the cohort that I taught in the University of Newcastle, which is completely different to the med students up north. You have to match your teaching style to ensure educational outcomes for your cohort. Okay? And that's tricky to do, it's not easy. And teaching this cohort is 100 times harder than teaching Newcastle or up north because of the difference in abilities. All right, so let's have a look at this particular cohort of the guys that I teach. Again, if you want to do something like this, or you want to find this stuff out, I can show you how to do it. The guys at the stats division of CSU are super helpful. They're great. So all I wanted to know was this type of information. So how did the students get admitted to uni? Okay, and it turns out that, as you can see, like half of them did not get into my particular course the usual way. So it was non-standard. And then I wanted to find out, okay, do these kids have any familiarity with university study? And it turns out that they didn't, right? So So they're going to be the first in family. They don't have a brother, they don't have a mum, they don't have a dad that's the doctor, or they don't have any of that cultural currency. They don't know what university is like from their mum or dad or whatever. We've got to keep an eye on the Indigenous cohort here, particularly in Port Macquarie. Myself and Phil are going to be working in that particular space, bumping up that Indigenous cohort. Again, different cohort again. And the other thing that I look at is what is the socioeconomic status of the students that I'm teaching. Because they're not going to be the guys like in Newcastle, they're not going to be the med students up north. Completely different. All right? So you go to the literature and you say, what do I do, or how do I teach these guys? Or what are the documented best practice method to get these guys to learn? Right? Which is going to be completely different to a different cohort. Right, so it turns out that these guys, you need to scaffold. You guys familiar with scaffolding? They need lots of practice. Practice, again, based on neuroscience perspective, is what gets those neurons firing together. Okay? Repetition and practice. These guys, or this type of cohort, needs feedback. Okay? The way our brain is set up is that you make a prediction and then you see the outcome. And the feedback, if it's a positive feedback, releases nice chemicals like dopamine in your brain, right? You're always making predictions, and that reinforces those networks. Okay, so they need to know if they're going right. They need to know if they're wrong. They need to know if they're correct. Multiple stages. They just don't need to know at halfway through the course and then at the end of the course. No, they need to know every lesson, how they're tracking. It's important for students. Engagement. These guys that have families, have jobs, they're not the same, they're not the student that actually mum and dad are both professionals. They don't have to work, they're there to study. That's not these students. Interactivity is the major contributor to engaging these low socioeconomic students. It's the best method thus far, up to this point. So it's all about interactivity, and that encompasses everything else, right? And I usually check my stats every year to see who I've got. As you see, it hasn't changed a lot. Let's have a look at some tools, bit of fun stuff. I don't really do lectures per se. It depends on the content that I'm teaching, what it lends itself to. If I'm doing something really complex or that involves multiple steps, then I do talk for about 20 minutes. But I never talk for any longer than 20 minutes at a time. I may go through a little portion of content and then I go, okay, everybody, now I want you to play this game. Right? So let me show you, this is a really cool website. I give the students to put my name and password, and that way I keep the games private to my cohort. I'll just sign in. There we go. So for example, so these are public ones. So this particular website, grab the address, within 10 minutes you've got a game. You can have them, so once you set up your game and you're happy with it, then you can submit it to the arcade and it becomes a free game for everyone to use, right? And what I do sometimes is get the students to create a game for me. Or they each contribute one question. And then I'll put it all together, and then what I do when we're doing exam revision, I give them the link back.
Where so they're you submitted to,
this arcade place, yeah, to make it public. But you see, if they create their own games, then they can use it for self-revision. So they actually essentially are creating their own learning materials. Okay, so if you have a look at this, it's really cute, particularly the B one. You spin. Here we go, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and you can have 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, and all different ones. You can have a bit of fun with it. You know, it's cute, it's fun, it's engaging. All right, so that's that one. Playdoh. Everyone goes, oh, this is terrible, boring. We're just kids, you know, you're treating us like kids, but yes, But no, because Playdoh is a very useful tool for modelling complex processes. So what I usually do, I give them a piece of text, and then they have to show me, based on the text, all the steps involved in that process in Playdoh. And it's not enough just to do that, okay? It has to be stepwise, and it has to be labelled. Again, getting that repetition going, okay? And the more stimuli you feed into the brain, the more networks, or the easier it'll be for the information to be recalled. So I get them to do Playdoh modelling for a couple of different things, and then they take a photo of the Playdoh and they share it amongst their friends. So that way it is actually, again, they're making their own learning materials. Okay? So they're making it, they're explaining it to me, and then they're sending it to their friends. So that's 3 times that their brain has engaged with it. Okay?
Where do they share generally? Do you have set up?
They send it to their phones, to their friends. Yep. But they have to explain it to me after they've done it. It's very crucial. So first of all, they have to build it. It's exposure 1. They have to label it, exposure 2. They have to explain it to me verbally, so that's 3. And then 4th, they can take it away. Yeah. So getting away from text-based learning. Right?
What are they models of, Nat? Like, for example, what sort of things do they make with the Playdoh?
Anything. This is...
Structure and stuff like that, is it the sort of thing?
We do viruses, bacteria, you know, where the cell walls are. We do steps involved. This is the steps involved in muscle contraction. Somewhere where they have to physically see the bits, or they have to grasp what the bits do, is a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes it's hard to explain something, like, so say for example, what do those two bits do? So if I had a bit of Playdoh, I could just show you, okay, this bit connects to this bit and then it does this. It's more, yeah, it's 3-dimensional, going beyond even 2. The other thing I encourage them to do is that I tell them this is a really big subject. What do you do when you have lots of information? And they go, I'll make multiple notes or whatever. I said, no, you get a bigger book, right? You get a bigger notebook. So I get them all to invest in one of those A3 visual art diaries. And this is just one student. This is actually a medical radiation student. And I say, look, just have one topic per page. Go for it. Draw, do whatever you want. And then she was actually quite an artist. But even just rudimentary drawings, just don't take lecture notes. I said, just go for it. And some of the books are really, really good. And then they bring it back next session. Yeah, big visual art diaries. All right, time for a quiz. So everyone's logged in? Right, let's do a quiz. So this is another way that I break it up so I don't bore you. So one good way of using, this is a free tool. Again, 10 minutes, you're up and running. Fantastic. You can work in teams. Usually students don't like to work by themselves, so you can work in teams if you want. So you want to be a team, whatever, or by yourself. And let's see how many teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 teams. So you can be on your own. You want to be a team? Okay, and what do you want? Rocket, bee, spaceship, unicorn's a favourite. You want the spaceship, Nigel? Here we go. I'll show you how it works. So all you want to do is answer the questions that are on your device. And the person with the highest score gets a dip in the prize box. Put your name in there. Team Blue. Who's Team Blue?
Me.
Oh, here we go. She's already up and running. No. It's accuracy. It's accuracy as opposed to speed. All right, we're just waiting on a few more people.
Yeah, the slow ones.
Yep. All right, I think everyone's finished. All right. So I don't know whether you noticed, but you guys were actually teaching yourselves then, right? Very easy thing to do, very easy to set up. So since today is a very special day and everyone had a go, everyone can have a dip in the prize box, okay? Not now, like after class, please.
Nat, did
Yes.
you make those questions up or are
Yeah.
they in there? Oh, you made them.
Oh, look, I make them up because there are certain things that I want them to learn, right? And sometimes I make them hard, you know? Yeah, you know, Bloom's taxonomy and all, you know, I make them hard. But the actual website does have a whole series of quizzes that I've already made up, people have
Are they
already made up.
science-based?
Anything.
So,
You can put pictures on there. You can anything.
Is it?
Yeah.
so do they have social science in
Everything.
there as well?
Everything.
I mean, I think Kahoot runs one.
It's another one. Yep. It does. It works for everything. And the good thing about this is that I use it. So say when I'm doing an online tube, and I've got people from everywhere, and I want their feedback, right? What I can do is I ask them a question. So I'll ask them a question, and I can see how many people got it right or wrong. One time I did like an exam revision tutorial, and I left this open for a week before with a whole bunch of exam questions. And then when I got to the tutorial, I started from the worst question to the best question, right? So you're getting instant feedback of what your students are learning, okay? Using that, and as I said, it's so easy. Easy.
When you're in class and you say, we're going to do this game test,
Yeah.
how long does it actually take from you saying that to they're starting to do it?
Well, I usually start my class 1:15 the hour because, you know, you're in the room and we have to open the doors. Not because you know.
Your fault, Stephen.
No. Steve likes to take the full academic hour, okay? And I appreciate that, and I've worked with that. So I've adapted my teaching style for you.
Very well.
So,
Just found another room.
so we've got the doors to deal with. Then you've got to make sure I give you plenty of time to go. And then I also put the thing up, if we're doing one of these, you need to be ready to go at 2:15, logged into Socrative, ready to go. And I usually put a timer up, you know, Google timer. And so we're doing this, there's a timer. Yeah. I mean, anything that we do, I put all the materials at the front and they have to be ready to go at 2:15. Right? If they're fart-assing around, that's going to be on the video. They can't. They can't. They need to be ready to go, get themselves organised, log in, blah, 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 interact, ready to go. Right? Yeah, so it's good. It's good fun. So as I don't know whether you noticed, but I talked for about 15 minutes and I gave you something else to do, and then I'm going to do the other 15 minutes. Just to break it up because it's boring otherwise. He wants to talk. He wants to listen to me for half an hour. Go on. All right. A couple of other bits and pieces. Concept mapping. Very good little tool. I can give you this thing as well. Sometimes things just lend themselves to concept mapping. This is immune system, and what I did here is I made a concept map and I left it fill in the blank. And their job was, as I was explaining them the immune system, their job was to fill in the blank on this concept map. Right? So you can use it like that. You can use it interactively, have multiple people go in and create concept maps. But I think I got the idea that they just like to have their own copy, you know. So that's another thing. And it's like a puzzle. It's like a challenge, you know. It's just a game.
So sorry, do they make their own or you make it?
I make it,
You make it.
but I omit certain words, and then as they're listening to me in the class, they need to fill it out. So that way they're paying attention every step of the way. And then I show them the correct responses and they mark their own work. Whoever's got the greatest mark,
Electronically or
no, it has to be hard copy.
Although if you were audioing for a DE cohort, you could do it that way. Share
Absolutely.
It, yeah, and they could have that there while they were listening to the audio.
Absolutely.
obviously.
You can have this
Sees your
concept,
replays,
yeah, have this concept map up, the actual software, and they could actually come in and put bits onto it if you wanted to.
is this a particular program then? Or
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Mm.
So it's not
It's
just-
free, it's
yeah, it's across the board.
easy. Colouring in. Okay, why do we get people to colour in? A, it's fun. B, why do you think people colour in? Why do we want people colouring in? Come on, Rhonda.
So they're actually concentrating on on what you want them to know. We did that in biosci, a colouring book for biosci. So they're learning the areas of the brain.
You want to slow them down, right? Have you ever, these days the students are like, they go too quickly, they don't give their mind enough time to digest the concepts. Part of colouring in is getting them to slow down, right? Slow down, focus for a minute, and then move on to the next one. Because everyone is so fast-paced these days, and you can't do this sort of stuff quickly. You have to give your brain a little bit of time to slow down and take it in. Okay?
I've got a question for you.
Yep.
DE students, how have you done that with DE students?
I have. I've given them this, and or maybe on a PowerPoint thing, and they can just colour it in with the colouring in tool. You dip the little paint thing in. Body painting, another thing that we did to learn the structures of the skeletal system. Anything. So this is a method that is used in medicine. It gets them thinking about, we have these paramedics students are going to work with real people, medical imaging guys, again, real people, they need to be aware of surface anatomy. Right? Another tool, if you want to do some body painting, I've got all the gear, just come and see me. Okay? Very, very fun, not for everybody, but for some, it's helpful.
We would need all students with bald heads.
You know what you do there? You buy a swimming cap
And put over top.
and then you do the parts of the brain and then they colour it in. Yeah. One time we did an entire person. Yeah. The other thing is multimedia, right? Some of the stuff that I deal with is very difficult to explain, what the molecules are doing. So I use stuff like this to help me in my teaching. I don't just get them to watch it. I stop it along the way. I might show them this and I'll just go, okay, let's have a look. So can you see the DNA is looped around these little proteins, right? And that makes up this, And it's always useful for them to visualise things, I find. As I explain that, I get them to watch it and then you explain it to them, well, it's like a little beaded necklace, like each little transfer RNA comes along and creates another bead in the necklace, and each bead is an amino acid. So you just try all different things in order for them to get the concepts. They're sometimes they're quite hard. Is Smart Sparrow. Has anyone used Smart Sparrow before?
I started trying.
Yeah?
Yes.
It's super cool. So if you want me to show you that, that's really fun. So what it is, it's you're presenting information, but you are adapting it to where the student's going. And I did it like a revision activity. I've only just had a little bit of time with it. But so you can present them with a multimedia video, and then you can get them to do a quiz. So you present information, but you also get interactive from them. And then the good thing about that is that you get a whole bunch of data out of it. How much time they spent on it, how many attempts they had, and it just tells you a lot about how they learn. And then you can use that to modify it for next time.
For the DE cohorts.
Yeah, this is great for that. Smart Sparrow is awesome for that. Yeah.
Did it take you long to learn? I haven't really spent that much time, but I did get a presentation about it. I was a bit overwhelmed with all of the...
I don't know how to... I only know a little bit of how to put it together because I got Lucy Webster, which is my ED, to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to look into this as well. Yeah.
You're better off getting the ED to do it, I think.
Yeah, because I was thinking of doing like a reference practice-based with that sort of tool.
That's it. Was that 10? That's it. That's all I've got. And have a look at the stuff and